Yesterday on this show, we talked about. I said that. Listen, I like where the Guardians are at. I think they're a good team. I think they're a. I'll be very surprised at this point if the Guardians do not win the Central. In fact, I'll be shocked.
It would be a collapse.
Zach and I were talking about this morning. I said, he's like, "What's your Guardian win prediction?" I said 89. He goes, "Okay, for the Tigers to win 90 games, they got to go like whatever it is, 70, 68, and 30 or something. Like they'd have to play
68 and 37.
They'd have to win about 2/3 of their games.
Yeah,
a little less than 2/3 of their games.
They got to win 2 out of 3 basically.
Yeah,
every
which
series
is
the rest of the way.
Now, listen, what happened at the end of the season, the Guardians Tigers last year is highly unlikely,
right.
But now that the Tigers have been essentially the worst team in baseball since September of last year, or maybe the second worst behind the Rockies.
Well, their record non-Scooble games is well under 500. In Scooble starts, they're like 15 games over 500.
Right. And
non-Scooble
he's still not back yet. It's still going to be another couple of weeks before he's back, right? And they might trade him. I mean, if they stink, they might trade him.
Yeah.
In fact, they should if they stink. The White Sox, I thought would be more competitive this year, but they're a 500 team. That's what they are. Yeah. They're going to be around 500. They'll be competitive. The Twins stink. I don't care what their record is. They will have a stretch where they lose 18 to 22, and they'll be out.
Wow.
And the Royals are okay, but they're not going to play well. The Guardians would have to have an epic collapse tonight. Yeah. And that seems silly to say the end of May because they're not that far ahead of the White Sox.
Yeah, it's like 3 games.
But I just, if they play the rest of the season 100 times, 98 of those the Guardians win the division. 95, 92.
90. I'll give you 90.
All right, whatever. In the 90s.
Yeah.
I'd like my odds at 90%, even if it's 90. Okay? So now I'm thinking bigger picture. Right now, the 3 best teams in the American League are the Guardians, the Yankees, and the Rays. The Rays, same boat as the Guardians, don't spend a lot of money. They don't have big, sexy names. Yankees have sexy names, but they're old. Now, their starting rotation is great, especially when healthy now that Cole's back, Rodon's back. We know I've given you credit a couple of times, by the way.
Yes.
Jason Lloyd said to me before the season, I don't know if you remember this, he goes, you know who I think is going to win the Cy Young this year? Or maybe he said could win? Cam Schlittler.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, he's good, but I don't know about Cy Young. Right now he looks like the Cy Young.
Yeah.
He's certainly in the conversation. He's been phenomenal. So their rotation's great. But their lineup is mediocre at best. And their bullpen is not good, and their defense is not particularly good. So the Yankees are a flawed team. I think top to bottom, the Yankees roster is better than the Guardians, but it's close. And so the 2 questions. So this led me to conversations about the trade, and I was saying, listen, I want one more bat, even if it's like a utility guy or a left fielder that, is just a good player. I'm not looking for a superstar, but a good veteran bat. I'd like one more starter. Doesn't have to be, 3rd, 4th guy at best, and one more arm in the late bullpen mix. And then, that led us to a conversation of, wow, if they had Clase and Ortiz, they'd have 2 of those 3 things already. The Guardians right now, according to Bet Rivers, are the 4th favorite to win the American League, behind the Yankees, Rays, and Mariners, even though they have a better record than the Mariners. If the Guardians had Clase and Ortiz, G. Bush, do you think they'd be the favorites in the American League right now?
This is the easiest question y'all ask in weeks. Of course they would. Of course they would. Right. I mean, Cade Smith is already cooking as the closer. If you got Clase back, you move him right back into the setup role. And then you got him, you got Gaddis, and then Ortiz, you take a look at it, you add him in, and if now we talk about Tanner Bybee being a little inconsistent, but now you have Ortiz back. And now Ortiz wasn't lights out when he was here.
No.
But I mean, do you like him more than Logan Allen? Sure, I do.
Yeah. I like him more than Ciccone.
Right? Yeah. So now you've bolstered your area where you're the strongest at this point.
Yeah.
And you got a lights out closer. Your setup man is lights out. You got 2 of the 3 things that you think that they need to bolster themselves to compete against the Yankees, and you already got the guys that are hitting. Angel Martinez is having a tremendous year. Guys that you didn't expect much of. And now you got the young guys. Of course they would be, I would call them the favorites. At this point, it's easy.
Jason, would they be the favorites?
No. Because Clase, first of all, it's disingenuous because Clase wouldn't be here. They would have traded him. He was days away from getting traded.
That's fair. Yeah, you're right.
He was days away from getting traded.
But they might have some other good pieces.
We
don't know.
Leo DeVries would be tearing it up in AAA right now.
Right, yeah.
And whatever rabbit hole you want to go down.
Yeah.
But we'll even remove that and say, okay, we're going to put Clase back on the team. Would he be any more dominant than Cade Smith has been in the closer role?
No.
I mean, Cade has been phenomenal, and I was worried about him early on.
But Cade would be better than
as a setup, sure, yes. But if we're talking like favorites,
Yeah.
the reason Joey Cantillo sort of emerged as a starting pitcher is because Ortiz isn't here.
Right.
Would Ortiz be better than Cantillo's been? I don't think so. I think they'd be pretty comparable. Ciccone was already here. The one who sort of had the opening by Ortiz going through what he went through was Cantillo. So I don't think I think that the Guardians are just so good that they can lose such a key piece as Clase, get nothing for him, and the machine just keeps on rolling because they had Cade Smith there. But I don't think the odds would change at all. I know it sounds weird to say.
Yeah.
I don't think the odds would change at all if they were both still here.
All right, I'm between the two of you because the odds would change. I think they'd be higher up. They're fourth right now.
Yeah.
I think they'd be higher than that, but they wouldn't be ahead of the Yankees. Definitely not. If nothing else, could they be ahead? They're not too far behind the Mariners and Rays in the odds. So could they pop ahead of those teams? Maybe. They
But
might be the second choice.
Is the closer really going to move the odds in a third or fourth starter?
Ortiz, not really. But
No.
Clase could make enough of a difference that the Guardians bullpen would be looked at as elite instead of very good.
Yeah.
And then maybe that makes a difference a little in the odds. But ultimately, the Yankees would still be the favorite. But we'd like their chances better.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Because even if you think Ortiz, whatever, their rotation would be deeper. You'd have like right now they don't have a sixth starter that we know of. Logan Allen to me.
No.
Whereas Luis Ortiz at the worst is a sixth starter. I mean, certainly. And their bullpen would be better because you have one more top of the line arm. I mean, let's face it. Right now, Cade Smith's the second best closer in baseball behind Mason Miller. Right? I mean, are you taking anybody else over him?
If you had those two dudes, you'd only need to get to the fifth inning. If especially in the playoffs.
And Sabrowski's been great. I know he's hurt right now.
All you need is four strong. Like if guys get in trouble, I'm going right to the bullpen. I think
you can't overwork him as we saw in the playoffs. But who are you taking over Cade Smith besides
Aroldis Chapman is old, but have you seen him?
He's been great.
He's been great. Joan Duran is great in Philly.
What?
He's great.
He wasn't last year.
He's pretty freaking good.
I've seen Chapman on Instagram, man. His workouts. Have you ever seen some of his workouts in front of his house?
No.
In the street? Oh, my goodness.
It is amazing Chapman's bounce back.
I don't know how
he was done with the Yankees.
He's got to be on drugs that we don't have tests for.
Probably is. Yeah.
Because he was done. In Pittsburgh, he was done.
I'd rather have Cade Smith than those guys because he's younger, but I get what you're saying, especially Chapman. And Durant, I mean, who else?
But Cade
he's right up there.
Cade is in the elite.
He's right up there, and he's been lights out after some early season struggles.
Yeah.
I know he did give up a run the other day, but he's been tremendous. And whoa! Look at that.
Light just fizzled and popped and went out.
Yeah. Look at that.
Thought I got shot.
Felt like we were attacked.
That was a noise that we have not heard in 4+ years of UCSS.
I know.
I was like,
Things got a little darker.
Somebody
that light, can we put a camera on that light or no?
Yeah, Steve, there
See
it
that
is.
light there? There you go.
That's the
that light just popped and
The
went out. I don't know
Zapruder
if the
film.
fans
I'm like,
heard
is
it.
that the grassy knoll?
Yeah, what's happening?
Where that at? Hold on.